Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12man.com/maroon contest. That's where you register. And then one winner and a guest will receive game tickets, hotel accommodations, autographed memorabilia, and more. You can register today at 12man.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. This is the Buzz Williams Show, and we are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. To everyone who is here, Happy New Year to y'all. Glad to see you once again. Episode 7, I've been counting them because Buzz counts them, not including the 3 events we had with Coach Joni Taylor. He's counting them, so once we get to officially number 9, Buzz might think he's finished. I don't know, so... And the coach is with us.
What do we got to get through, 12?
We get through 12.
And this is 7?
This is 7.
Let's count this one as done. That means we're on to 8.
You got it. That's how the math, however you want to do it. Buzz, the math this past week certainly added up for Texas A&M. And I like what you said before Tuesday to the team, and the team had that mentality. It's a new year. Happy New Year to them. And I know it's almost like a sprint. I know it's weird to say for the next 10 weeks in conference it's a sprint because it's 2.5 months, but it will be. But you wanted to see some growth this past week, and you saw that growth, didn't you?
Well, like what we talked about on Tuesday and then mentioned again on Friday, last week was 6 consecutive days of work, and that was on purpose. We're the only team in the league that played 2 non-conference games after Christmas. Going into league play, you can argue if that's right or if that's wrong. But I do think that the reps that we had, not just in the 2 game days, but in the 2 days before the game, and then the two days before the game, those were all reps for what we're going through now. So today is Monday, it's 2 days before. Tomorrow is 1 day before. Wednesday's the game. Thursday's 2 days before. Friday's 1 day before. Saturday is game day. And so, as you mentioned, and I mentioned it, showed it to our guys this afternoon, the next 63 days are accounted for. Mm-hmm. We're going to have 9 off days. We're going to have, in essence, 18 practice days on 2 days before. And if you think of it as 1 day before, we're going to have 18 of those as well. And so I think there was growth within the program relative to the consistency required, not just in the game, but in the preparation leading up into the game. And so today is Monday, which is we had 2 of those last week in regards to 2 days before. And kind of like what happens in the NFL, you don't walk into an NFL facility and they say, well, today is Monday. It's all based on when the next game is. And so if you walk in our facility over the next 63 days, we're all wired up relative to our responsibilities, relative to what day it is. And there's only 4 different days. 1 day's off. Mm-hmm. 2 of them are 2 days before. 2 of them are 1 day before, and 2 of them are game day. It's the only league that I've ever coached in where there's not a bye.
Right.
So it's 18 consecutive games, and I explained that to our guys. 18 consecutive games, obviously 9 at home, 9 on the road. But within those 18 games, 4 at home, 4 on the road, and then 10 of them are your mirror season, right? So of the 5 teams that you play in mirror, obviously half are at home and half are on the road. And so we have 6 guys that are playing minutes that have never been through an SEC season. And so we spent 16 to 18 minutes kind of walking through what the next 9 weeks are going to look like prior to going to the SEC tournament.
And it's not just a young guy like Solomon Washington who's learning. Anderson Garcia, different role for him from even Mississippi State. Dexter Dennis went through the American. I get it. Yep. And Julius through the Big Ten. But it does. There is a learning process for them into the SEC, isn't there?
Well, just like I told Dex, Dex is one of the smarter players I've ever coached in my whole career. For sure the best listener I've ever coached. And I said, tell me what you know about the SEC. Well, it's good. Yes, sir. What else? Really good players. That's right. What else? Like, he doesn't know. Yeah. But why should he know, right?
Sure.
And so it's not just Solo who's in the second semester of college. And the one thing that I mentioned to the returning players, I should have talked to you guys about this time last year, right? Because we can't be under the assumption that the SEC tournament counts towards postseason.
Right.
And we also don't need to be under the assumption that we lost some equity in non-conference play. And so Tim Floyd is the one that taught it to me when I was young. But if you win at home, you could argue that's what you're supposed to do. So that's worth 0. If you lose at home, that's -1. If you win on the road, you can argue that's not supposed to happen. That's +1. And if you lose on the road, it's a 0.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a plus-minus game. And then I walked through the season last year. Hey, guys, we were 5-4 at home. So what was our score? -4. That's right. Okay, we were 4-5 on the road. What was our score? +4. Yeah, so -4 and +4 equals 0.
Mm-hmm.
A 0 will not get us to postseason. Right. We have proof of that regardless of what happens in the tournament. So once we gave them context on the entire picture, you want to try to simplify it to where they understand. So at Florida, we're playing for a +1.
Mm-hmm.
And so regardless of age, I think it was the right 18 to 19-minute investment of showing them. Josh put together an incredible clip tape using clips from Any Given Sunday, the movie, and then had it overlaid with a lot of the environments that we will play in, and a lot of really good plays from last season. So it caught our guys' attention immediately, and I think that was good.
Wednesday, Aggies open up SEC play. They'll take on Florida, who played last week against Auburn. We'll talk about that so much more when we continue with the Buzz Williams Show. Stay with us. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. All Hands Craft Cocktails is a new bar-strength canned cocktail made with 6 times distilled vodka and 10% ABV to make sure you never have to sacrifice the quality of your drink. All Hands Craft Cocktails, founded by Aggies and a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station, talking with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Buzz Williams.
I didn't know there was a liquor company sponsoring my radio show.
Yeah, they get a
name
drop
of it?
in All Hands Craft Cocktails.
If I watch this play, I'd need a drink too. I don't believe in craft cocktails, but
I didn't want to go in that direction.
Well, it makes logical sense.
Yes, it does. See, you don't look closely enough. Dr. Thornton usually has one underneath the
during
table.
the game.
No,
in a flask.
That's right. That's how he puts up with me, Buzz. You know that. Like you talk post game. I got to finish this. Friday, you were talking about who do you play, and it's going to get into the accountability part. You said if you have 23 minutes, if you're playing basketball, you better give Dr. Thornton all 23, because if you're giving any of those minutes to Monaco, you're not going to stick around a long time.
You're not getting 23 reps in practice. You're on the blue team at all times.
Yes, I am. You talked accountability, and after the win on Friday, Wade Taylor, was asked about why he had such a good game, and he credited his teammates. But he also said, you know what, out there on the floor, Coach gives me a little more grace out there. But this is a young man who, Buzz, is wise beyond his years, the way he's playing. And you talked about that accountability. Your best players have to be your best players. As I say that, I don't want that to seem like, well, in the 5 losses, they weren't playing their best. This team succeeds, and because Boots has played like he has, and Four has played like he has, and Henry has, that's why you had a chance to do that. But that's the template for this team, is it not, the rest of the way?
I have to do a better job holding Four, Boots, and Henry, those 3 specifically, accountable at the highest level, because we need them to respond in real time at the highest level. It doesn't mean that they have to be perfect. Accountability doesn't exclusively mean that you do everything perfect, but it means the discipline involved in being accountable on both ends of the floor is required. And we have not lost 5 games because of those 3 guys.
Right.
We have lost 5 games because I've done a poor job up until prior to Christmas of holding those guys accountable to that. And I do think that it was reflective somewhat in their production, but it's not just in the games It's in the film room. It's in practice. It's within each and every rep. This is the standard, so to say, not to steal coaching cliches from other coaches, but you need your best guys to be your hardest workers. You need your best guys to have 1,000% ownership at all times. And they can't feel as though they're held to the average standard. No, you're held to the highest standard because we need you to be your best.
And Four also mentioned in his comments, he was asked, did you see this game from Boots or this week from Boots? And he said, yeah, because I've seen it in shoot-around, in film, in practice.
Yeah, I didn't, like I tell you guys, and I told Travis the other day, you know, I never tell our guys what to say publicly at all. In my whole career, I've never done that. Maybe I should. So I don't read the newspaper during the season. During the actual season, I'm not on social media. I post, but I don't click the button where I can hear about everybody's opinion of me. But I do think that Four, in what he said about Boots, was true. Yeah. And I think that you could sense that even in Henry's game against Northwestern State. You could see some of that. And they're not going to have those, quote, numbers every night, but that we expect that of them and the standard that we need them to compete at. That's not only going to help them, that's going to help us. And I think that that's the key in all of this.
You know, we touched a little bit on Tuesday, and I thought he followed it up on Friday the same way. Anderson Garcia can affect this game without scoring. Buzz, you know, there's a lot of guys, if they don't score, they're not worth a lot on the floor. But even before he scored, there's a steal, he's on the floor, there's a deflection, there's a rebound, there's a second chance opportunity. Andre Gordon, same way. Yeah. Can he make that pocket pass to a big that's running? When players understand that there's two ends of the floor and you can affect the game on both ends, that's when they become even more effective, don't they?
I think that Andy may impact the game without the ball as well as any player I've been around in a long time. And when you look at his stat sheet, it's so deceiving because you're like, well, he missed 2 layups. Yeah, but look at all of the other things that he's doing that are not in the box score. I didn't think Dre was great against Prairie View. I thought he was, in many respects, when I subbed him and Andy in when we were down 27-12 versus Northwestern State, in many respects, those two guys are what brought us back and what led us to the finish line. Because both of those guys do things that impact winning when the ball is not in their hand. Did they take up space? What is the percentage of the shots that they contest where the guy misses it or makes it? You know, that's one of the things that NBA teams chart. It's one of the things that we chart. When it's my contest on you, what percentage do you shoot? And are my contests above or below the team's average? Dre is superb. In all of the ISO ball that Northwestern State was playing, when he was in the ISO, they never scored on him. And Andy, is always near the ball. As you mentioned, he took a charge or 2 against Northwestern State. He took a charge on Friday. He's always around the ball. Did he get a fingertip on it? And he didn't get credit for the defensive rebound or offensive rebound. Somebody else got the rebound. But it was him doing his job and getting a deflection. First to the floor. He does so many things. And I honestly think the physicality that he plays with and the intensity that he plays with helps change our team. And that's why Dre was the first guard off the bench. Yeah. And that's why Andy was the first forward off the bench. They give us things that are not in the scoreboard. We don't necessarily need either of those guys or more guys to score per se. We need more guys, specifically those two, to lead the charge in getting a stop, to lead the charge in winning on the glass on both ends of the floor, to lead the charge in helping us get fouled, to lead the charge in us not fouling. You know, in the first 8 games, we were one of the worst fouling teams in the country. We fouled 24 times a game, and we were giving up 19.8 points per game in the first 8 games from the free throw line. Over the last 5 games, we're only fouling 14 times a game, and teams are getting 9 points from the free throw line. Well, that's a big difference between 19.8 and 9. Mm-hmm. That's a 10-point swing. Mm-hmm. A 10-point swing is winning and losing at a high level in this league when you can find 10 points. And our team has adjusted to that. We've made some tactical decisions, but we've also emphasized that, like, we have to stop fouling and getting the opponent to the bonus, and we got to hurry up and get fouled. 4 is in non-conference play through 13 games, is the most fouled player in the SEC. And 1 free throw behind him is Boots, who's the second most fouled player in the SEC. All right, well, let's quit turning it over because it says that we get fouled at a high rate. Let's quit turning it over, and if we don't get fouled, let's have a better chance at an offensive rebound. We're 3rd in the league in free throw percentage, but we've attempted the most. Henry and Jew got off to an awful start from the free throw line, but I think Jew has made 4 out of his last 7, and I think Hen has made 7 out of his last 10. Those numbers are going in the right direction, but if we can continue to get fouled, what was harmful to us in regards to we were fouling too much, what was harmful has now turned good for us. Not only are we not fouling, but we are getting fouled. And some of that is how we're playing early offense and the space that our guys are playing with. But it's those sorts of things that you don't see unless somebody brings it to your attention where you go, wow, that's a huge swing. And that's the same sort of presence that Andy and Dre bring to our team, not to their stat line, but to our team.
He's Buzz Williams. This is the Buzz Williams Show. We'll continue from Rudy's, 504 here in College Station, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Not everyone is a morning person yet, but with Costa Vida's new breakfast tacos, everyone will be. Try our bacon, egg, and cheese, or specialties like the machaca beef and egg, or sweet pork, egg, and cheese. Stop by our drive-thru any day from 7 to 10:30 a.m. Order online through the Costa Vida app or the Costa Vida website. Become a morning person at Costa Vida. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. One of the notes I wrote down.
Is Costa Vida a place to eat?
Yeah.
Where's it at?
South College Station, off Fitch. Holly is the owner. She has been a sponsor, and I was there this afternoon with former baseball player Rudy Barker. We had a wonderful
Costa
lunch.
Vida is the name of the restaurant?
Yes, it is.
And they sell breakfast tacos?
Yes, they do.
What time do they open?
7.
That's lunchtime around here.
For you, it is. Is it a team rule that you must win if it's a Buzz's Bunch game?
No, but it sure does help. That's pretty cool. Those families, there's a really special lady. There's multiple special ladies, but there's a special lady that teaches here in town at one of the schools who has a phenomenal relationship within the special need communities. And then there's also, as you know, in Bryan, a store that is ran by special need adults where they're the employees and they make everything. And so it's like everywhere else we've been, Monaco, like it takes time for that sector to all find out. And then once they start finding out about Buzz's Bunch, it just one family brings 3 more, and it just continues to grow. I remember when we started it at Marquette 16 years ago, and at Marquette, the president is a Jesuit priest. And so I remember how it all started, and as Buzz's Bunch began to grow and grow and grow during our time there, it was becoming way bigger than anything we had ever thought. Mm-hmm. And so some of the parameters that we had in place, we didn't think big enough. And then when I took the job at Virginia Tech, it had become such a part of what Corey and I wanted to give that it was literally an addendum in my contract. because Buzz's Bunch had become a 501c3 organization, and it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families and kids. And we had learned so much from it. And so I remember before I ever signed the Memorandum of Understanding, there was an addendum to the Memorandum of Understanding, not just the contract of what Buzz's Bunch was going to be. And the AD, who I think is one of the best in the country, I didn't know him prior to accepting the job. And I was explaining to him, the words in this addendum are just as important to me as all of those other words. This is going to grow way more than you realize. Like, you just think, oh, let's get together and we'll take a couple of pictures. And then you start seeing the impact that it has on so many people, and it just grows and it grows. And so now buying those tickets to the game, well, if your team's continuing to improve, and people are wanting to come to the game, there's not as many tickets to give. And then those tickets, you know, if there is a special need child, but they have two non-special need siblings, okay, well, now all of a sudden you need 5 tickets for the one Buzz's Bunch member. Okay, well, now you need to have 2 Buzz Bunch games because you can't, there's not enough seating at just one. And so this is our 16th year doing it, as you know, like a concert tour. On the back, we still honor the blue and gold from Marquette. We still honor the maroon and orange at Virginia Tech. Every kid that is not here, they still get the Buzz's Bunch T-shirt. Landry pretty much, that's her bucket. She runs it. Luke helps. Josh helps. But, you know, we do a Buzz's Bunch calendar. We'll print thousands of those and sending them to everywhere. And, you know, there's, over the course of 16 years, there are children that were in elementary school who are now in college. One of the first members is now a coach.
Really?
And so, like, there's story after story after story. I would say our record is pretty good on Buzz's Bunch games now that you say it.
You made a mention after shoot-around to the players about the investment as they were going to be there early in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I go back to them. When they get that return of investment, when they realize there's something bigger than themselves, not just A&M, but that Buzz's Bunch has to be a wonderful feeling for the student athletes.
Well, Jimmy Butler ended up, when he was a draft pick, a first-round draft pick, his rookie season, he ended up buying tickets for 2 different Buzz Bunch family members, season tickets.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, like, those, they quit coming to the Buzz's Bunch games because they was going to the Bulls games. But you never know. And, like, you know, our kids who are very mature and they are really good people and they have no problem giving away their time, and I thought they were engaged in both Buzz's Bunch games. But, you know, you never know. Four's entering his 4th semester. I anticipate that 4, not speaking out of turn, I anticipate that 4 will have an incredible career here over the course of 8 semesters. Mm-hmm. And so who he met in the camp that we have in the summer before his freshman year, now where are those families and where is 4 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And I think it's like anything else when you talk about relationships, the compound positive impact of that. You never know. You know, like there was a kid, Finn, who was at the game. He didn't get there early enough because there was some kind of traffic problem. And, like, I started crying and he started crying, you know, as soon as I saw him because I hadn't seen him since the summer. And so, yeah, it's hard for me to articulate it because it means a lot.
It's just, you know, when you get into the recruiting part as a student athlete, you're thinking, oh, yeah, my points, my rebounds, my this and that. But it's something even special because way down the line, they'll look back. That's a friendship. That's a relationship, realizing I never knew that was going to be part of it, but it will become part.
Well, after my 10th year as a head coach, I decided that I wanted to have a reunion. And so I brought in every player that I coached, every manager, every student assistant, every former assistant, every president that hired me, every AD that hired me, along with every head coach that I worked for when I was an assistant. And we did it the first weekend in August because the first weekend in August throughout my entire head coaching career is when we have the Buzz's Bunch camp. And so we had 88 former players after my 10th year all come to Blacksburg. They were there Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, left on Sunday. All of those adults, the same thing. And it's a long story what we did during that 3-day reunion. But what we all did, vice presidents, presidents, ADs, head coaches that are now head coaches at other places, NBA players who were flying in on private planes, the current players at Virginia Tech at that time, we all knew that on Saturday morning from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. we were going to do Buzz's Bunch. And no matter how old they were, obviously some of those kids were in their early 30s at that point, along with freshmen on our team at Virginia Tech, along with former assistants who were in their 50s at that time. Everybody knew what Buzz's Bunch was because we've done Buzz's Bunch every year that I've been a head coach. And the first Saturday in August is always the Buzz's Bunch camp. That's how we conclude summer session 2 before we all go home. And so, like, you're looking at Buzz's Bunch in Blacksburg, Virginia, after our 3rd season, and Blacksburg is a small college town. But by then, it was starting to grow. Yeah. Buzz's Bunch was starting to grow. And then here comes more former players, staff members, etc. And it was like the biggest Buzz's Bunch camp of all time. But everybody knew what was going on. And, like, we hired a photographer who took all of those pictures. And, like, that's because it's not just about now. It's about all of those relationships that started way back when, and we never know where they're going to go.
That's special. I can't wait for the 20th.
Yeah, I may be doing radio by then.
That's right.
Me and Coach Thornton.
That's exactly right. We'll continue with the Buzz Williams Show. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Download the 12th Man mobile app today. You'll get the latest news, videos, live game audio, and in-venue promotions for Texas A&M Athletics. Plus, you can buy, transfer, and manage your tickets inside the app. Visit 12thman.com/app today. Go mobile and gig 'em. It would not be a Buzz Williams show without a question from Ian Curtis. And Ian's question to you, Coach, is what book do you wish your players would read?
Yeah, probably the Book of Proverbs. The Book of Psalms would be a good place to start. But if I had to buy them a book that I think that they would read and understand, and there would be some wisdom in how it could impact their life, I think one of the ones that I would buy for sure, and I've bought it, I would say I've bought a couple of hundred copies thus far, would be Ego is the Enemy. It's written by Ryan Holiday. Ryan's a friend of mine. He's written I think he's written 11 New York Times bestseller books. They're all really good. But I think that that's the one that would impact their life on and off the floor, and it's just what you think the title is. You know, I think all of us, our ego gets in the way, and if we could learn that ego is the enemy, that would probably be a pretty good way to lead and have some humility in how you go about your life.
Is it the type of book, Buzz, that when you read it as a freshman, it's a different impact than when you read it as a senior, and then when you read it somewhere else in your life?
Yeah, like what we always talk about with our team, you know, like who you are at 19 is going to be different than who you are at 29 and who you are at 39. And you kind of, I think the younger you are, you think that as you get older, life won't be harder. Life actually gets more difficult because you have more responsibilities as you get older. But a lot of what changes from those increments of time are the people you meet. They're the books that you read, but it's also the experiences that you have. And so regardless of any book of that genre or that ilk, I think how you process it at 19 is going to be completely different than how you would process it later in life. And it's because of the experiences and the opportunities that you've been a part of. That changes your lens on so many things. You know, the things that I used to think were important at 50, when I was 19, they're not even on my radar. And I think sometimes that's right. But, you know, even sometimes our staff, I try to make sure that as I hire people that the average age of our staff gets younger. It doesn't get older, because the grouping of people that you continue to coach continue to stay the same age. And so as I get older, as our staff gets older, when we hire younger people, I always ask them what they think, because they're going to have a different lens on it. Like, they see things differently than I do, partly because of my experiences, but partly because of their experiences. And so I don't like to be the loudest person in the room, but I always like to be the one that asks the most questions. And what do you think is always one of my favorites. And most of the time, because of my title, when I say, what do you think, the person's response is going to be about what? They respond with a question because they're not sure, like, what are you talking about? Which is why I asked the question, what do you think? About what? I don't know. Anything. Because it's when they now answer that question, anything, it's going to take them to what they think is important at that time that I should know. But if I frame the question differently, what do you think about practice? What do you think about my radio show? What do you think about the scouting report? No, I don't want to set them up, because then they're trying to answer the question that I want them to answer. No. What do you think? I mean, I've known Rod since I was 18 years old, and he comes in the weight room every morning with me. And when he walks in, what do you think? Now, he never says about what.
He doesn't have to.
But I'm saying, if you don't know me, I'm asking that question so I can learn. And I'm trying to learn because of what you just said. Like, how I process ego is the enemy is going to be completely different than how Ian, as a senior in high school, processes ego as the enemy. So I think so many times people think that it's about your answer. It's about your response. I think the smartest people ask the best questions. And the best questions are the ones that are open-ended, that are not yes or no. What do you think? Well, you can't say yes to that. Can't say no to that. Well, what do you think? About what? I don't know. Anything.
It's wide open.
Now they have to figure out, okay, well, what's the answer? Well, there is no wrong answer, but it's an opportunity for me to learn. And I think that not necessarily the higher you go, but whatever the word is, the lonelier it gets, for sure. And there's very few people that you trust, but more importantly, I'm pretty good at being distrustful because I live in such a narrow lane. But my interaction and my conversation, there's not that many people that that are in my sphere. I see you at the game. Right. I see you at shoot around. I see you at my radio show. I have no idea where your office is. I have no idea who our sponsors are, but that's my interaction. But you could say that about anybody. Frank's guys, well, now they come to one day before. Well, how did that happen? Well, they've been asking me to go there for 3 years. Okay, well, I trust them a little bit more, and I actually think, like, they care. But that took 3 years before I said, hey, yeah, you can come over here. I trust you. Now, I'm not going to say that, right, but that takes time. And I think that so much of life is, can you ask questions that allow the person to be themselves? Very few people can ask me questions and I have an opportunity to be myself. Because why are you asking that? What angle are you coming? It's just part of it. And I get that, and I'm not even complaining about that. But I think the questions are based on perspective in regards to the answer.
Ian, thank you very much for that question. Appreciate it. We'll continue with the Buzz Williams Show. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Back here at Rudy's and the Buzz Williams Show. If you're looking for a fun way to spend time with family and friends this holiday season, you can join Aggie Basketball at Reed Arena for Holiday Hoops. One more time this Saturday against LSU. Discounted tickets are available for purchase. They start as low as $5, and there's a youth ticket option as well. Visit 12thman.com/bball tickets for more info and to buy your Holiday Hoops tickets today. Set up the week for Texas A&M. Wednesday in Gainesville, 6 o'clock the tip against the Florida Gators. Saturday, Reed Arena, LSU is the SEC home opener for the Aggies, and that is a 5 o'clock tip. And remember, we join you a half hour before then. The Dos Equis tip-off show on Wednesday at 5:30 from Gainesville, and at 4:30 before the game against LSU at Reed Arena. One final segment of the Buzz Williams Show. When we return, this is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Basketball and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood, and Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. The final segment of the Buzz Williams Show for this week. We're back with you next Monday as well. Before then, as we mentioned, SEC play begins Wednesday for the Aggies, taking on Florida. Florida played Auburn last week, and then LSU is here on Saturday. Buzz, what changes once you get into conference play?
The value of a possession. It's on steroids. All of it. Your ability to execute coming out of ATOs, your ability to get stops consecutively, your ability to execute special situations. Stereotypically speaking, you're going to have more scenarios that arise in a 1 and 2 possession game than you are in games that are 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 possessions. And so they have a top 30 defense in the country. They have the one player who is their leading scorer, their leading rebounder, and second on their team in assists, and he's 7 foot tall. And so they run their offense through him, not necessarily for him to score, but almost because he is the one that initiates offense for them. He has the highest usage rate of any player in the United States taller than 6'6", and has the second highest usage rate of any player in the SEC. Normally you talk about guys' usage rate means they finish the possession. They shoot a shot, they turn it over, they get an assist, or they get fouled. That's what usage rate means. And for someone of that size to have the usage rate, you remember both games that we played them last year. We were fortunate to win both, but both of them were one-possession games. Yeah. And so because you anticipate that the margin has shrunk and that the game is shorter, the value of the possession is raised, and the ability to execute what is presented by time, score, and momentum is in many respects the separator. And can you execute what those special situations present, not just when we're on offense, but when they have the ball in a special situation offensively, can your defense stop that? And so, it's like they say 72% of NFL games thus far this season have been decided by 4 points or less. Well, that's pretty thin margin, right? And so the worst team, whoever that is, the best team, whoever that is, if 72% of a 17-game schedule in a 32-team league is decided by 4 points or less, that speaks to the margin. And, we lost 8 games last year in a row, and 5 of those games were decided by 1 or 2 possessions. Everybody talks about the end, but included in that winning 12 out of our last 14, 2 of those last 12 out of the 14 were against Florida, and they were both one-possession games. And so it's the margin. And I think that, the maturity required to even get to that point is a lot. But then the maturity to finish when you do get to that point, that's the separator.
And that finish can be on either end.
You got to be able to do it on both sides.
Because I'm thinking, the 2 games against Florida last year were huge. You stopped the losing streak. Wade makes 3 free throws, but you got the stop on the other end on the missed shot that get knocked out of bounds, reviewed, and then the overtime game in the SEC tournament. They were both impactful, those games.
Yeah, man. Like I get the heebie-jeebies just even hearing you talk about it because
there's an offensive rebound by Boots, and he's on his butt with that ball and making a play. It's the not in the box score things, but Buzz, where they show up is in the win column.
Yeah, it's the intangibles. So much of it's such a thin line, and the line is really not a line. It's invisible. Yeah. It was like my dad used to always say, there's the line in the sand. Well, the line in the sand at this level, there's if you look at every Division I conference in the country. The SEC has more teams in the top 50 in the net than any conference. We have 7.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's half the league. We're not included in that.
Right.
So 7 out of 14 teams, very similar, in my opinion, to what football is in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like, who's the best team? I don't know. Who's the worst team? I don't know. What's the difference? What's the line? What's the spread between the worst team and the best team? A field goal. Yeah, okay, well, it's turned into that. I actually think it's turned into that even since we've lived here, right? Like, year number 1, we win 5 out of our last 7. We're the hottest team in the league next to Kentucky, who had won 6 out of their last 7, and Kentucky beat us here. Mm-hmm. That was the difference. We finished 10-8. I don't count COVID, even though I know I'm judged accordingly. And then last year, we start 15-2, 4-0, and then we lose 8 in a row. So now we're 4-8, and we finished the regular season for win number 20 and to go 500 in league play on the last game of the year. And both teams entering that game, Mississippi State was 8-9, and we're 8-9. Winner goes 9-9. It's a difference of 3 spots in seeding based on tiebreakers for us to get to win 20. Like, it's that's why you can always judge coaches based on their conference record in many respects, right?
Live from Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue on Harvey Road in College Station. This has been the Buzz Williams Show.